Welcome into another edition of the Old North State Sports Show, folks. We are back to talk about more Carolina Panthers news. Of course, we got a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and I will update you guys on the show, college football. But until then, we are going to consistently deliver Panthers content because that's what we do. So please hit the subscribe button if you are here. Today, we're going to talk about Radio Row. Primarily Bryce Young on Radio Row. And for those unfamiliar, Radio Row is set up at the Super Bowl, week-long event. You have all these interviews. I know a lot of you may already know this if you follow. A lot of your sports shows are there. The big national markets, bringing in ESPN, Fox, all those shows are set up in Adams, NFL Network. Whatever show you follow, it's going to be there. And they're going to be live. They're going to bring in tons of interviews, people walking around. And we got to see Bryce Young, and there was a few pieces that I wanted to talk about. And Panthers.com did a really nice article on Bryce Young down at the Super Bowl. So we're going to talk through that. And I have not had a chance to listen to Cam's podcast. I know there's been a lot of clips I've seen. There's just a ton of content that comes out of this week. We're also going to talk about possible offseason extensions. There's a report by Jeremy Fowler that came out possible that the Panthers could extend a wide receiver. So we're going to break that down and then also look at other candidates that we may want to talk about getting an extension. And Bryce is perfect wide receiver. So again, speaking of Radio Row, is Bryce going to divulge? I doubt it. But we're going to talk about, is he going to tell us who he wants to come in? And I don't think we're going to get as much as you would like. Just who he is. It's his personality. And I also think you get into the tampering side of things. We're just not going to see it. And pick number 8. And pick number 8 for the Carolina Panthers, should they stay there? I was thinking about this. What is one position or player that would just completely shock you if the Carolina Panthers drafted that position or player at number 8? I'm going to give you my opinions and let you know what would shock me. And then as we close out this episode and we talk about draft, although I'm not doing mock drafts because I just don't believe in continuing to do mock drafts when nothing on the roster has changed. It makes no sense outside of 1 or 2 mocks, just how I view things. I'm going to be doing player profiles of a ton of guys, about 7 players per week leading up to the draft. And of course, after free agency, we'll get into actual mocks again. But at least getting you prepared to understand the prospects. And we're talking guys from first rounders to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, late kickers. All that is going to be covered on the show. So we'll be going through that. Without further ado, though, let's talk about Bryce Young and Radio Row. There's a few notes out of this article from Panthers.com. And I got to say, from watching the interviews myself, I also felt this way. Bryce Young appeared more comfortable and confident at Super Bowl Radio Row compared to last year. And I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think even going back to this year, Bryce Young's not a outgoing extrovert, at least from what we see. But I think he does have a little bit of sauce, if that's even what people say anymore. I do think he's got something to him. And I know people talked about him being a quiet leader coming into this season. I'm not going to disagree with that. But I think as he kind of came into his own, he felt comfortable in his skin. We're seeing him comfortable on the field, off the field, and in a lot of these media interviews that he's been going through. Former Panthers quarterback Jake Delhomme noticed Young's growth, both on and off the field. So it kind of ties into exactly what we said. He embraced his media engagements, handling football, and personality-driven questions with ease. Getting into the groove, man, kind of finding it, potentially becoming the face, not the face of the NFL, but face of the Carolina Panthers. Speaking of Carolina Panthers, I don't know how many people saw the jersey sales that were reported from, I believe it was Lids. I think they put out the report, might have been Fanatics. Jersey sales by state, the number 1 jersey. Of course, in North Carolina is Bryce Young. In South Carolina, it was Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of Panthers fans bashing the South Carolina fans. But to be honest, South Carolina fans have college football. They have training camp taken away. They only go down there now for, 1 day? And they only did that this year, went to Clemson. So I don't know how much I'm buying into it. that I'm going to force South Carolina fans to be all over this. Like, you got to give him a little bit of a break. Demonstrated his confidence, showing leadership, self awareness. That was just in general, like, takeaway. I think when you assess Bryce Young in the second half of the year, and we've talked about it, it's very notable. Jonathan Stewart also said Young is learning to navigate the responsibilities of being a franchise quarterback. Yes, he is, and he's doing a fantastic job of that, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about some extensions. Notable free agents in 2026: Taylor Moton, Adam Thielen. Now, J.C. Horn currently is on his 5th year. There's a chance he gets extended right now, which is the purpose of this. Ike Ekwonu technically would be a free agent, but if we pick up his 5th-year option, it gives you another year. DJ Wonham, Jadeveon Clowney, Jalen Coker, and of course, Damani Richardson also on there as well. But those are your notable free agents for the Carolina Panthers. And we're going to talk about what Jeremy Fowler said here as we pull this back up. The Panthers want veteran receiver Adam Thielen back in 25. He's due more than $6 million in overall payouts in the last year of his contract. Carolina and Thielen could always renegotiate to find a sweet spot on a new one-year deal or an extension. But my sense is the team does not plan to release Thielen, who does want to be on a winning team. I don't think he really has a choice, if we're being honest. Like, he's stuck here in Carolina. I don't know that the Panthers would do him a favor and send him somewhere. The value isn't what we would think it would be. So for me, I hope the Panthers figure something out. But then again, when you start talking about extensions, you talk about putting your problem down the road a little bit further. So speaking of that, I do think something's got to happen with Taylor Moton. No doubt about it. We've got to figure out Taylor Moton's contract, 30-ish million. J.C. Horn, give him an extension. Ike Ekwonu pick up his 5th year. DJ Wona may be a little too early, but I mean, I think they're going to kind of let this play out. I would be in favor, but I could see if they were hesitant, especially if they draft or pick someone up via free agency. Jadeveon Clowney, you got to let it ride. There's no reason to extend him. He's getting up in age. I appreciate what he's done. And Jalen Coker, to me, is probably maybe the second or third most important extension that the Panthers are going to have to monitor over the course of the next year. Now, Bryce Young, lots of talk again on Radio Row and in general about his potential wide receiver that he wants. And of course, he's getting all these questions. He was on the Up and Adams show. They're not going to pry anything. Again, I don't think you're going to get anything out of him because of tampering and everything else. But when asked about, his ideal wide receiver, he said, "It's not my call," with a smile. "I trust Dan and I trust the front office to make those calls. There's a lot of people for sure that I have a lot of respect for, and I'll talk to probably more privately. I trust in Dan, though he's going to get it right one way or another." And what is that one way or another? Is that going to be free agency? Is it going to be the draft? Are we going to trade? I think that's probably the biggest question that Panthers fans have right now. And if we're being honest, for the love of the draft, it'd probably be good Panthers don't pick one up in the second round. Just saying. It doesn't. All those previous drafts weren't Dan. Well, so kind of were Dan. But anyways, that's my thought. So perfect wide receiver, you're not going to get it. So the Garrett Wilson, the T. Higgins, the DK Metcalf, whatever it is. And people are kind of hinting at the 3 he listed, which was what, Calvin Johnson, I can't even remember, Randy Moss, and one other, and I don't remember who the other one was, so I apologize. But people are trying to hint at who we think he wants as a wide receiver. But as we close out today's episode, shocker at number 8. The pick is in for the Carolina Panthers. What position or player would shock you if the Panthers selected them at number 8? For me, I only think it's a few. And maybe I don't know. I mean, shocker by far would be quarterback, that's off the table. I think the second on the list, possibly offensive line. But then again, I don't know that I would be as shocked. I would be a little bit shocked considering what we assume to be the team's needs. You kind of move off of that list. I think the real shock that's actually in play for me would be a running back at number 8, whether that's a Genty, whether that's a Marion Hampton. To me, that's a bit of a shocker. Or a tight end. And I know Tyler Warren's the big name that's climbing the boards. I think he's the best tight end in the draft. I think he's a versatile tight end that can do a lot of things. But for me, I think tight end or running back, probably the two positions that would shock me the most, but running back probably at the top. I feel like I said, quarterback's out of the picture. Offensive line wouldn't be that shocking. Like linebacker, edge, all those safety, even cornerback, all those make sense. Almost any position on the defensive side of the ball, it's gonna make sense to me. Offensively, it's probably just running back or tight end because again, we could envision a wide receiver being picked up as well. But I would love to know what y'all think. Who or what would shock you if the Carolina Panthers selected whatever position or player at pick number 8? Now, as I mentioned, we'll pull this up here, get this cleaned up for you. I've got player profiles coming out. We will have film, if applicable, if I can find film on these guys. So we'll talk through film. We'll talk through player profiles. Again, it's not going to be a mock draft format. It's going to be more informational to get you prepared, but this is what it's going to look like. So first player profile that I'll be doing, again, we're going to do 7 or 8 per episode. It's going to be Malaki Starks, 6'1", 205, junior, 4'3", 540, had 1 interception, 3 passes defended, 77 total tackles, 52 solo in safety out of Georgia, and someone I think that is very much in play for the Carolina Panthers at pick 8 and or even further back should the Panthers make a decision. And you look at the Panthers where they are today, there's no doubt they need safeties, like multiple safeties. And so why not go ahead at pick number 8, consider drafting your safety of the future that could be here for the next 8, 9, 10 years, so as long as all things go well. And I mean, the free agency class isn't great at the safety position, if we're being honest. Like, I don't know what the Panthers' plan is going to be. I hope I mean, there are some guys that are available, but it doesn't look too good. So anyways, folks, that is going to do it for today's episode. This is Carolina Dad. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a good one.